Senator John Fetterman, the Pennsylvania guy who seems to have a little more common sense than most Democrats, is ripping into his fellow Democrats for labeling President Trump an autocrat and urged the party to face facts about its recent electoral defeats. The senator, he has more common sense than the rest of the Democrats in the U.S. Senate put together, I think. In cut number 4, he had this wide-ranging sit-down with CNN. It aired on Sunday on Inside Politics. And Senator Fetterman argued that the overheated rhetoric has helped Democrats lose elections instead of winning them. Here's Senator John Fetterman.
Never going to change my party, but clearly we've lost the argument, and right now I think it's entirely appropriate to really be honest and just figure out why exactly have we effectively lost 2 out of the last 3 cycles, and a lot of the things we've really kind of really lost our connection with American voters in ways. And I think we can't just be, well, Trump is always wrong, or that we're going to set the country on fire or whatever. That's just not true either, of course. But, you know, when I represent a state like Pennsylvania, that keeps you honest. And you always can't forget that a lot of Americans happen to disagree with you. That does not mean that they are fascists or now they want to shred the Constitution.
When you hear some Democrats saying Trump is acting like an autocrat.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. If you actually compare him to an actual autocrat, that is not just that. Now, last night, for example, people were complaining. They were protesting about, oh, that's the Hitler thing. You just don't ever compare anyone to Hitler and those kinds of extreme things. Now, look what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, you know, the man was shot. Now, we have to turn the temperature down. It's like we can't compare people to these kinds of figures in history. And this is not an autocrat. This is a product of a democratic election.
Fetterman argued that Democrats are repeating the very mistakes that have cost them elections in the past. He made the argument that winning national elections, you got to win those swing states. You got to reach out and be able to get those people in the middle, the independents, who don't necessarily pledge allegiance to the Republicans or to the Democrats. They vote quite often with their pocketbook. How's the economy doing? But when you do things that the Democrats have done, when you alienate voters because of your extreme views, they're never going to come back to you. And I think John Fetterman recognizes that. He rejected calls from some Democrats to use government shutdowns as leverage in spending fights. Again, just sort of common sense things in governing our country. And I got to say, when John Fetterman was running for the U.S. Senate, I thought it was crazy. I thought it was absolutely nuts that Pennsylvania was considering a guy who walked around in shorts and a hoodie for the U.S. Senate. And he was elected. It made no sense to me at the time, but hey, look, he's becoming one of my favorite Democrats in the U.S. Senate. And from what I'm told, some of the U.S. senators that I talk to from time to time, they say that he's easy to work with. Again, common sense. He's there to represent the people of Pennsylvania who sent him to the U.S. Senate, and he wants to do what's best for our country in a lot of situations. Not always. You know, there are a lot of things that I disagree with him on. But again, it's sort of a breath of fresh air to see a Democrat like him saying, hey, guys, we got to back off of calling Donald Trump names. Orange man bad. He's our president. We got to figure out how to work with him for the betterment of our country. And he makes a point, doesn't he?